Welcome to the second hour of Authentic News right here on RBN Live, this 18th day of April 2025, where I take your calls. First up, Paul from New Jersey. Paul, join the conversation.
Hello, Mr. Fetzer. Listen, 2 weeks ago I donated blood, and I don't want to brag about it, but or show up, but I did notice, it's kind of interesting that it was basically, but I live in a white town, but it was all generally white people donating blood. But it was a lot of minorities working as the phlebotomists, and which is common. And so I was curious, who donates blood more often as percentage of the population? And lo and behold, it turns out that indeed, whites are way much more altruistic. Okay, 77 of people out of 1,000 of whites donate every year. 22 out of 1,000 African Americans per capita donate per year, and 10 per 1,000 of the population for Hispanics. Asians even have a lower incidence of donating blood. Now, part of the reasons could be that I would assume for Asians and Hispanics particularly, is that they're small people, and I'm like a big guy. I'm 200 pounds. And so for me, when I donate blood, I donate a pint of blood. But when a 100-pound person comes in and donates blood, they donate a pint of blood also. So I could understand smaller people being, fearful of donating blood. But you should really, a lot of people should do it just for the good of their own tribe, if they want to do it for tribal reasons, particularly among blacks, because as we know, black individuals experience 44.5% of the total firearm injuries in this country. And so if you think about it, a lot of the, black people are almost dependent and subsidized through white blood donations. And it's really something the BLM crowd and the Afrocentrists out there need to really consider about us big, bad, racist white people. That often when they're wounded or they need hospitalization and they're going to receive blood from a complete stranger who donates out of the goodness of their heart in some instances, that they're going to be receiving blood from white people. And that goes for the Hispanics and Asians also. So I just thought I'd bring that up as, as a starting point to get that out there in the public.
I think it's a very good point to make. I mean, if they get rid of all the whites, who's going to be doing the blood donation? It's going to draw down to a trickle. No, I think it's a very good point, Paul. Go ahead, add further thoughts. Go.
Yeah, and I urge people to consider if you're, like you feel in good enough shape. And even blood donating really is good for your health. And there's a lot of, anecdotal and actual evidence which shows that it can lower the incidence of a lot of ailments for people. Men should donate blood because men build up too much iron. And really the only way to get rid of surplus iron is through bleeding. So it's not really good for your health to have too much blood in your system. And getting rid of old blood gets rid of a lot of, also the toxic stuff that's in your blood. When you donate blood, you're getting rid of that also, in a sense. So I really urge people out there to go do it, not only for the, to help out other people who sometimes get wounded in an accident or, even gunfights or shot, but just as to do it for yourselves. And before I go, Mr. Fetzer, I just like to give a shout-out to the great caller, Bubba Reb Scout, and his free association phone calls. I just love that guy. I love his calls, and I urge Bubba to keep it up, and I look forward to listening to you and him.
Well, it's interesting. He's here today. Look, I want to say to all the Trump supporters, call in. If you think Trump's doing right, call in. Support your guy. Don't remain silent. I don't censor people because of their point of view. I'm a free speech guy. I want everyone to get the opportunity. And as I look at this list today, I don't see any staunch Trump supporters there at all. So why don't you get up your gumption, pick up the phone, call in? I also want to encourage first-time callers. You are welcome here. Use the opportunity. Meanwhile, we have Gabriel in Arkansas. Gabriel, you promised you'd call in, and here you are. Go right ahead.
Good afternoon. Before I respond to the news and the things that you've been talking about this week, I want to thank the callers who mentioned me by name and appreciated my information. Alexander, Renee, Francis, and several others, thank you. And I enjoy your calls as well. My YouTube channel is UFO One Studio. Now, Professor, all week you have been making passing remarks about Freemasonry after admitting right here on Authentic News that you don't really know much about it. Your callers have been making false anti-Masonic claims. I told you that I went through the higher degrees of Freemasonry. I also read around 10 books on the subject, and I'm a Rosicrucian, which is significant because the Rosicrucian books by Rudolf Steiner contain more information about Freemasonry than you can acquire today at Lodge as a member today in modern Freemasonry nowadays. JP, you claim to be an entered apprentice or beginner in Freemasonry, so you should apologize to Alexander from Canada. And if I continue to hear you make anti-Muslim, anti-Jewish, racist, or hateful comments, I'll bring you up on Masonic charges if you're even really a member. If you don't believe me, say what lodge you belong to if you even have the courage, and wait and see what happens. Most worshipful Grand Master for the state of Florida, Jonathan Karoum, was a Muslim. Rest in peace. He's in the Great Celestial Lodge now, but he was the best brother I ever met, and he was a Muslim. Forget about Albert Pike, who is misunderstood, misquoted. These people quoting him haven't actually read his entire book, Morals and Dogma, and their quotes and predictions are either false or misunderstood. Furthermore, Pike isn't even an authority of any kind. If you want to follow someone, follow Jesus Christ or Rudolf Steiner, who will just guide you to Christ anyway. Now, the problem isn't Freemasonry. It's too many of the wrong people are members. Freemasonry itself is good. It holds its members to the highest standards and strictest morals, and the promises its members make are of the highest virtue and love towards all humans. But there are too many members in violation of Masonic law. If you're a Freemason and you joined because somebody prompted you or even suggested it, I'm sorry to inform you, your very membership is a violation of Masonic law, which requires the candidate to join of their own free will and accord. With a genuine inner interest in Freemasonry and understanding its meaning and stuff, having previously studied it or whatever. If you're a Freemason and you're immoral or an atheist, if you're racist or hateful, you are in violation of Masonic law, and you're hurting Freemasonry. Quiet as kept, Masons are brought upon charges all the time, and as long as I'm a member, I will hold members to their obligations. Freemasonry was originally a school of spiritual initiation, spiritual building, spiritual development, etc. Today, it's nothing more than a speculative club or fraternity, unfortunately. And I'm from, the meaning and the true history of Freemasonry have kind of most members today don't even know the meaning and the true history of Freemasonry.
Gabriel, give us a thumbnail sketch of what you would say if you wanted to explain to some friend what Freemasonry is all about. A lot of us are very interested to learn. Go ahead, tell us.
From the very beginning, Freemasonry was about spiritual building, but its members, many of them being builders, adopted the symbols related to building and geometry, the plumb and level, the compass and square. Rudolf Steiner teaches all of this and more. You can learn who made the pyramids, how they made the pyramids. The collection of Rosicrucian literature from Rudolf Steiner is an entire encyclopedia of literature. And in the Gospels, it says a Holy Spirit would come to comfort us and teach us all things. Well, the only person who fits that description is Rudolf Steiner. And Zionism, as it exists today, is anti-Masonic and is a violation of Masonic law. Yet we see it poisoning religion, as well as fraternal organizations like Freemasonry that are of the noblest character. I'd like to talk briefly about the two Illuminatis, the fake versus the real. The Bavarian Illuminati most people think of is the fake Illuminati, founded by Adam von Weishaupt, a rich German who was kicked out of Freemasonry back in the 1700s. He was a Jesuit, an enemy of Gnostic Christians like the Rosicrucians. Meanwhile, if you study this encyclopedia of literature I keep referring to by Rudolf Steiner, Steiner teaches that the real Illuminati are the true followers of Christ. And I'm not talking about today's mainstream Christians, folks. I'm sorry. They don't actually follow Christ. They follow Zion. And Zionism has poisoned modern religion. And I could talk for an hour about how the church teaches and follows man-made dogma that contradicts Jesus and the Gospels. The true followers of Christ are the ones who follow the Gospels and the words of Jesus. The Gnostic Christians, and the only Gnostic system that has survived today is the Rosicrucian system taught by Rudolf Steiner, who, he's no longer alive, but his teachings and his system of information still exists. Now, Professor, the last couple of days you've been talking about Israeli Zionism and the idea of the deceased Shearson, or Netanyahu, being the Jewish Messiah. But I'll explain how they resemble the Antichrist more. The Messiah was Jesus Christ, and the Jews missed the bus because, as another caller stated, Jesus was bad for business in the eyes of the Jews. Considering the Gnostic Christian Rosicrucians, if you study history, the Zionist church attempted to kill every Gnostic because they preserved the original teachings of Jesus Christ. So they killed the Cathars and the Knights Templar, for example. Anti-Christ, people. Rosicrucians know the end times apocalyptic interpretations popular in Christian churches today are man-made Zionist dogma, unsupported by the Gospels, where they cling to the words, nobody knows the exact day and hour, and they ignore the part where Jesus explained that all these things would happen before this generation that he was talking to would pass away. So basically during their lifetime. And the veil would open up between earth and heaven, angels ascending and descending. Well, if they just keep reading, all of this stuff they're still waiting for, these Zionists are still waiting for, these Zionist Christians, it already happened in the Gospels. During the crucifixion, heaven opens up, the angels ascend and descend, Jesus dies on the cross and returns, but Mary doesn't recognize him because he's no longer in the same physical body. Jesus is now in an incorruptible body. I only got about another minute.
Forgive me. This is all very, very interesting. What you seem to be telling us is that the Freemasons are devoted to Christian purity, to a pure version of Christianity. And let me ask, what would be the most important tenets of that pure version of Christianity that the Masons subscribe to? A half a dozen, perhaps?
Well, I don't want to be confusing here now. I'm a Rosicrucian. So when I talk about the Gnostic stuff and that's the pure Christian stuff, that's the Rosicrucian stuff. Now, in Freemasonry, you can be in any religion, just like I was talking about.
Right. Prominent leaders who were Muslim. Yes, very good, very good. Keep going.
I will say this, though. In Freemasonry, in the higher degrees, in the Scottish Rite, in the 17th and 18th degree, and also in the York Rite, they have all the Rosicrucian stuff. So it is in the higher degrees. For example, in the York Rite, once you become a Knight Templar, now back in the day, all the original Knight Templars, they were all Rosicrucian Gnostic Christians. Today they may not be, but if you're a Knight Templar today and you're not a Rosicrucian, I'm sorry to tell you, you're not a real Knight Templar. A Knight Templar should be a Rosicrucian Gnostic Christian. And so that is in Freemasonry, the Knights Templar. And once you become a Templar, there is an appended body, it's a Rosicrucian body in the York Rite that you can be invited to, similar to in the Scottish Rite, where you can be invited to the 33rd degree. It really only goes up to the 32nd. I've only got another minute of information or so here. The last time I explained all of this, somebody called in and argued that Jesus said the temple would be destroyed before the end times, and the caller ignorantly argued that technically there are still parts of the temple today that haven't been completely destroyed. But the caller is wrong, because the Gospels make it clear Jesus is referring to the temple of his body, not the temple in Jerusalem. So there's a lot of confusion and misunderstanding and misinformation related to religion, and especially Freemasonry.
Gabriel, this is excellent. I much appreciate. Give us a final thought.
I have good news. Jesus is here. He's been here since the Pentecost. I lost my notes on that, but basically, Jesus has been here since Pentecost. The Rosicrucians know this, but he's in an etheric body. Most people can't see him, but through certain spiritual exercises that are Rosicrucian that we do, you can acquire higher faculties of perception. You can perceive the etheric Christ, Jesus Christ. So he's here, just people just can't see him until they develop the spiritual ability. So that's my last thought.
Thank you for all that. Very, very good. I reiterate, if you want to stick up for Donald Trump, if he's your hero, if he's your champion, you be his champion. Come on and tell us, for example, what I've got wrong. Because, I was a very staunch supporter of Donald Trump. I voted for him not once, not twice, but 3 different times. And when I see him, talking about attacking the Houthis, talking about going to war with Iran, talking about suppressing free speech for the benefit of Israel, I don't like it. Tell me why I'm wrong.
I never needed anybody's help in any way. But now these days are gone and I'm not so self-assured. Now I find I've changed my mind. I'll open up the door. Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun, and I say it's all right.
Jack in California, join the conversation. Jack.
Good afternoon, Jim. Got a question for you. I know
Sure.
You've gone through a lot. used to support Donald Trump, and now you seemingly don't. Have a sincere question, just curious. You think you'll relapse and support Donald Trump once again?
It could happen. It could happen, Jack. Look, it's a reaction to the deviation from his conduct in office with his campaign promises. And if he has shown promise by declining an Israeli plan to attack Iran, that's a step in the right direction. But I think this free speech thing is probably the most cutting to me, the one that bothers me the most. He's got to allow everyone to speak their piece, even if it's criticism of Israel, as JFK observed. Those who make peaceful protest impossible make violent revolution inevitable. He's got to support the First Amendment. He's got to support his oath of office, Jack. That would make a huge difference to me. I could come back on the Trump train under those circumstances, but with qualification about the foreign policy, because the Palestinians are great people with a legitimate claim, and yet he appointed as his anti-Semitism czar a man who denies there even is a Palestine. I don't like that, Jack. Your thoughts?
Well, another follow-up question. I know that you were a lifelong Democrat. Do you think that the Democratic Party will reclaim the glory of its past, the days of FDR and John F. Kennedy?
I think it's highly unusual or unlikely. Yeah, you're right. I was a Democrat in the tradition of JFK and FDR. I believe in Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, workman's insurance, unemployment, workman's compensation, unemployment insurance. Those are programs that have really made a difference to the American people. And if Musk and Dodge go after Social Security after Trump having declared it would not, his admin would support it, that's going to infuriate me. So, Jack, you raise some very nice points. I always considered myself kind of a classic, in that venue, in that vein of JFK and FDR. So you're a student. Your observations continue.
Well, those are the core principles of the Democratic Party. And I believe that most Democrats of your generation still hold on to those core principles. However, will they forego the woke, critical race theory, diversity, equity, inclusion policies, or will they reclaim those as well?
No, I think those are dead and gone. I was apprehensive when the first signs of political correctness began to emerge when I was still on the Duluth campus of the University of Minnesota. I could foresee it was a major threat to free speech and therefore to rational discourse, because in order to discover the truth, you got to be able to examine all different points of views, all alternative hypotheses. And if you're going to rule some out on political correctness grounds, you're going to compromise the ability to find the truth. I will never go back. I never endorsed any of that war-happy horseshit. Jack, I thought it was ridiculous from the get-go, and I certainly hope it's dead and gone forever.
Well, there's a lot of Democrats here in California, and I think that they mean well, but they support the party regardless of what the new platform has reflected in the last two elections. But I was just curious, given you've really come a long way these last couple of months since Trump has been elected. And I don't see you ever going back.
Well, I was born in Pasadena, California, graduated from South Pasadena High School, spent a couple of years in the Marine Corps at the Recruit Depot in San Diego. I care a lot about California, and it's just awful, tragic. Breaks my heart to see Gavin Newsom do so much damage. Jack, I think you made a very fair assessment of where I am politically. I appreciate the call. Final thoughts?
No, I just wish you a good weekend, Jim. Take care. Thanks for taking my call.
I'm glad you called, Jack. You call again. Meanwhile, Francis in North Carolina, join us, Francis. Give us your latest.
Oh, boy. Hello, young man. Theo here. To start off with, I have to applaud Gabriel, for that matter, on his commentary, but I need to back up for a moment. First off, I have to applaud you, especially given what I heard yesterday. I have to applaud you, young man, because you went through a lot. If anything, regardless of what your spiritual beliefs are and all that, you actually, that yesterday, put me in mind of what a druid typically would be, and that is absolutely neutral when it comes to things of a... okay, I'll hang on.
Hang on, Francis. I'm carrying you over. We'll be right back.
Eleanor Rigby picks up the rice in the church where a wedding has been. Lives in a dream, waits at the window, wearing the face that she keeps in a jar by the door. Who is it for, all alone? Holy roller, he got hair down to his knee. Got to be a joker, he just do what he please.
Francis, please do continue.
Indeed. For one thing, as I said before, you put me in mind of a wise druid because they had to stay neutral and view all aspects that was coming into the community and determine what was the most helpful, what was the most healing for that community, and so forth, to aid in its growth, physically as well as spiritually, for that matter, not to mention psychologically, and so forth. So I have to applaud you in that respect. Moving on to another aspect, sometimes you have to do house cleaning. If that means that people leave for whatever reason, fine. They can find their point, interest, whatever the case is, somewhere else. You have a widespread ear around the U.S. as well as around the world. People that are drawn to truth will show up. Don't sweat over the details. I can appreciate the aspect of wanting to hear people's opposing thoughts. No problem, if you really want to do that. But I have to applaud you otherwise. Now, I have a question for Gabriel that he can address at another time, and that is, being that there's such a thing as Freemasonry and the Rosicrucians and so forth, my question is this. How is it that for the Freemasons, excuse my pronunciation of that they have what's called the Order of the Eastern Star, thank you, for women? And why is it that only women are allowed into that and not into the Freemasonry group, for that matter, or court, for that matter? So, but however, on the flip side, men can go either into the Freemasonry court or into the Order of Eastern Star court, for that matter. So I'm a little bit confused about that aspect that maybe he may be able to shed some light upon, as it were. So I do have another question now. Gabriel, Bubba, dude, you cracking me up, mister. I tell you what, you absolutely cracked me up. As much as he cracks me up, I have to admit, I'm trying to figure out, is he actually reading from a novel, from a book of some sort, being military or political or whatever? Because there's never a mention of a name regarding the various people that is being addressed in this commentary, which I find fascinating, but a little bit confusing. So if he could clarify that, that'd be great, because then I have a point of origin as to what he is talking about. Pardon? So
he's standing by. He'll be speaking later, Francis.
Oh,
so I appreciate.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Give us a final thought, Francis.
I'll tell you something. That I have to applaud the gals that call up and so forth, because there was a lot of idiocy going on that was being spoken about. It was ridiculous. And I hope JP finds his truth. Excuse me, Jeremy finds his own truth, for that matter. And as far as the holiday goes coming up, for the people that are legitimately Christian, I mean legitimately, not this hokey pokey stuff, I hope they have a wonderful, healing holiday come Sunday, because
Yes.
they will be the ones that celebrate and acknowledge the holiday properly.
Yes.
Not these things.
Yes.
Not
I'm going to
these
wish
things.
everyone
Anyway.
a happy Easter. Thank you, Francis. Much appreciated.
Well,
Thank you. Renee, join the conversation.
Well, hello. Yes, I found Gabriel fascinating. Also, you can tell when somebody is like a truth seeker and really has studied and knowledgeable, even if you might not agree with everything they say. You can tell the ones who are sincerely trying to figure out what's really going on. And you see, I know I didn't know what was happening to me as a child, but it was very confusing. I know now church and state gaslit me, okay? Because, what I was experiencing in life and what I was being told, so much of it didn't make sense. But I was just a child, and I was supposed to trust all these authority figures. Well, now I know a lot of them lied, okay? And that really plays with your psyche and your head. And so the thing is, I did go on a search and see, the thing is, I agree with him a lot. I think the Roman Catholics killed off the better Christians. When he talked about the Cathars, it's been a long time, but I remember studying about the Albigensian Crusades and stuff, and them bragging about how they were walking knee-deep in blood. Another sect that they killed off was the Waldensians. There was one of the last Waldensian spots was in North Carolina until I think it was absorbed by the Methodists. And see, that's what they do. They, church and state becomes so much about power and control, and somehow the evil seems to take over and absorb and destroy the good. And so the thing is, too many people on here, they're in their sect, and they're rock-solid concrete in their sect, and it's like they think their sect's good, and they only pick out the good parts and forget the evil their sect has done. And trust me, I know a lot about the Catholics, okay? I was in there. I know. I got relatives, okay? And they try to put all the evil on the other group. We have good and evil in all, and see, we have to stop this, okay? There are good and evil Catholics. There are good and evil Jews, good and evil Protestants, good and evil Republicans, good and evil Democrats. The thing is, and then people start all this infighting where they want to see their group is good, and therefore by association they are good people, and put all the bad on others until we stop this. This is never going to stop. But I find him fascinating to listen to, and like I said, I know from my own search that a lot of those too. And see, I really don't understand why the Roman Catholics can't see this. I remember doing those Stations of the Cross. Since we're coming up on Easter, I remember doing those Stations of the Cross. And it's very clear. I don't care how much they want to call the Jews Christ killers. Go look at your Stations of the Cross. It was the white European occupiers who mocked him, called him a king of the Jews, put the crown of thorns on his head, drug him out there, and nailed him to a cross, okay? And always trying to pin it on the Jews is just wrong. And particularly, you see, the Jews of that time, we know now those are the people that are closest to the Palestinians. The Jews that are causing the problem are of European descent. They're the fake Jews, the Ashkenazis and stuff. And when you look at the people in power and control in Israel doing this, like Netanyahu, that's a white man, okay? And he's a right-wing white man. And the thing is, it's too easy to do this. It's like, it's not just Israel and Jews. I heard Aaron Mate admitting this, too, and Jimmy Dore. The thing is, yes, it looks like a lot of the whole thing with AIPAC and stuff, but like Aaron said, and I agree with him, Israel is a proxy of the United States. Balfour, in Britain, there were I think it was Balfour, he wanted the Jews out of Europe, but they also wanted a foothold in the Middle East. Well, the thing is, that's what started this whole mess. You cannot understand the situation unless you understand that it's like a kind of a triple. It's Britain, Israel, and the United States. Israel could not be doing the evil that it is doing if it hadn't been set up by Britain and it has not been financed by the United States. So I'm not going to just sit there and blame all of them, particularly when we have so many good ones like Max Blumenthal and Aaron Mate.
Yeah, Aaron, Renee, I love it. Give us a final thought.
Well, like I say, I'm really we have to stop this. Only looking at the good aspects of our group and the bad aspects on the other. It's the other, particularly when we get down. You know that legal system you're tied up with right now? The English brought that over, not the little brown people crossing the border. We can't get down, okay?
Great call, great call. You have a wonderful weekend. Wayne in Texas. Wayne, join the conversation.
Yeah, hi, Jim. Thanks for taking the call. And you mentioned you may want to hear from some people who are still for Trump. And I'm going to try to make my case here for you. You know, the show some days is almost Groundhog Day for Trump bashers. It's the same crap day in, day out. And I think there's very little content in most cases. It's just a matter of more of opinion or, you know, Trump's going to run for a third term, so that's a big deal to get all upset about. Here's where I'm coming from, Jim. I saw a recent poll that Trump's getting about 80% approval from voters, okay? And why is that? He ran on closing the border, which is done. It's down like 90%. He ran on stopping the fentanyl deaths, which were causing tens of thousands, okay? He ran on creating more jobs, and he's already bringing in hundreds of billions of dollars of investment that will build plants. He ran on stopping DEI and CRT. You can go right down the list. So for the key issues of the election, Trump has delivered across the board, okay? You add in Doge, and there was also $150-some billion they've saved already, and there'll be much more to come. Now, you got people crying about due process for this illegal alien who's a member of a designated terrorist group called MS-13. He's a thug that beat his wife. It's on court record. I even saw the complaint by his wife. So you got everybody whining about that. But there's no due process for Laken Riley, Kayla Hamilton, Molly Tibbetts, and all the young girls that were caught in the wrong place at the wrong time by an animal. And you got people that are whining and crying about illegal aliens and how they're treated. We got to keep these people from taking us on. So my point mainly, Jim, is we have to figure out, are we American firsters or are we citizens of the world? I say Trump's delivered on about 89% of what he promised. I'm very leery of Gaza and some of the stuff going on there. But I think across the board, if we're American firsters, we have to definitely back what he's doing and let this Gaza and everything else solve itself, because it's gone on for decades already, and nobody has solved it up to this point.
Wayne, thank you for this. I'm very glad you called in. I welcome your future calls, my friend. Very, very good. Let's see, what do we got? Say again? Well, I'm worried about the First Amendment. I'm worried about supporting genocide. I mean, those things bother me profoundly. I wasn't going to press you on it because you were making points about so many other issues. How do you feel about those that bother me the most?
Well, Jim, I think you do make some good points, but aren't the Houthis, for that matter, bombing commercial ships too? Ships that don't even have
they're only interdicting Israeli ships, and now American because we're attacking them. But they're acting honorably. They're acting honorably.
They're bombing a lot of different ships over there.
No, you're wrong. There's a lot of propaganda out there. I'm telling you, Wayne, they aren't. They're acting honorably. Even the UN agrees they're acting in accordance with the Charter and so forth. But what about the First Amendment thing? What about threatening Harvard with $2 billion if they don't shut up people who are protesting the genocide in Gaza?
Well, Jim, if your kid was going to school there and say it is a certain persuasion, and you had these idiots in his face blocking his path to class, and you paid tens of thousands of dollars per year for him to go to school, how would you be feeling about it? How do you think those people feel?
It's not happening. They aren't harassing Jewish students. None of that's happening. They're just having peaceful protests, and the Israelis don't like it, so they're using Trump to clamp down.
You've got to see more video, Jim. I've seen the videos of them stopping these kids from trying to cross their picket line or whatever it is to get into class. Yeah. And that's what all some of these major schools
you got to watch out, because the ADL hires people to take spray cans and put swastikas on synagogues. They hire it. They're past masters at phony events.
I can appreciate that, Jim. I know a lot of this stuff is
I like your call, Wayne. I like your call. Call again. Call again. Yeah. I'm very glad to have you here. Let's see here. Who we got? James in Charlotte. Join.
Yes, good afternoon, Dr. Fetzer. I'm not going to be able to put in any support for Trump at the moment. I've soured on him quite a bit, just as you have. What I wanted to talk about concerning Tulsi Gabbard's announcement of an imminent release of some 50,000 records pertinent to the investigation of Robert Kennedy's death.
Yeah.
I thought we would maybe go over some things.
Sure.
That I think the evidence is so strong about that security guard Eugene Caesar was the actual assassin.
Right. Sure. Yes.
But there's some other things that
James, there may have been even another shooter with him, but he was shot from an inch and a half behind the right here, kept firing as he fell. 2 more shots to his body, another went through his jacket. Bobby grabbed his tie. His tie clasp is on the floor of the pantry. You can see it in some photographs. By the way, I think the Jewish component of Bobby's death is much greater than that of Jack's. I mean, it's obviously there for both, but I think it's greater for Bobby.
That was one thing I wanted to get into.
Go ahead.
Caesar obtained a high-level security clearance about a month before the assassination, according to some reports.
Yeah.
He worked at Lockheed, and I don't know exactly what connection he may have had to either the CIA or some other intelligence agency, that he may have been an operative.
Okay.
But one other thing I wanted to mention was that there are also reports from some people at the scene that who were there that Robert Kennedy was seriously wounded but not mortally wounded, and that he was actually murdered at the hospital later on.
No, you're talking about Martin Luther King. You're getting the two cases mixed.
Well, no,
Bobby
Bobby
did not die immediately. He wasn't dead in the pantry, but Martin was taken to a hospital more distant than necessary in Memphis, where a racist doctor promised to finish him off. And when they brought him into the emergency room, he chased everyone out and smothered him to death with a pillow. That's MLK. Now, if you have evidence about Bobby, tell me more. But I would guess you are mixing the two. Go ahead.
No, I was aware of the situation with Martin Luther King, that he was murdered at the hospital.
Yeah.
But I had read, and I'll try and follow it up. I don't have it in front of me to give you the reference, but I had heard the same thing regarding Robert Kennedy, that he was seriously but not mortally wounded, and that he was murdered at Good Samaritan Hospital, where they took him to.
I've done a fair amount, on all these, and I think you may be mistaken, but I'd be very glad, James, for you to call back with more about that. Follow up on it, and let's pick up on it. Just because we're running out, I want to pick up a couple others. But, James, I like your call. I want to pursue it further. I want you to call back. Hey,
I'll try and follow
Carolina.
up.
Thank you, James. Carolina Sandpiper. Join the conversation, Carolina Sandpiper.
How about you, Jim? Kind of wondering what Gabriel had to smoke or drink before he got on his rant. A lot of people tend to live in the next world when they need to be living in this world. If you treat people the way you want to be treated, it works quite well. And don't forget that an eye for an eye is a good way to get even, too. My last comment I'd like to leave with everybody is, for Sunday, visit Israel, land of the Christ killers.
Thanks, Mike. We needed that. Eugene in Ohio, join the conversation.
Thanks, Jim. I want to speak on a few comments that caller before last, that Wayne fella called in, and he sounds like he's another one of the Trump fanboys who's been drinking the Trump Kool-Aid too much. He didn't elaborate on Miriam Adelson's and her donation of over $100 million to the Trump campaign, and in Trump's DOJ department, how they're going and arresting what they're calling anti-Israel speech protesters, just picking them up off the street there. So I'd like to hear him explain also how Trump is cracking down on the free speech against Israel, and how he's going to make Zionism great again. You know, MAGA ought to stand for Make Adelson Great Again, is what in Trump's eyes, I believe, is what that stands for. You know, I voted for this clown, you know, and I regret what I did because he lied. He outright lied. You could not have voted for Kamala Waltz. I mean, that was just a catastrophic ticket. I mean, you know. No, God knows I wouldn't have voted for that thing. You know, I thought Trump was, to be honest with you, Jim, the lesser of the two evils. But I'm starting to see now that one's just as bad as the other. A lot of people are worried about that, Eugene. I get it. Give us a final thought. Well, I just want to say again, Jim, that I appreciate everything you do and how you get on here, and I commend you and your bravery and your forthrightness and your truth-telling about all this. And whether people don't like, you know, they don't get pissed off because you're not talking up Trump. You know, they don't want to hear the truth. They don't want to hear the truth. So I suggest to them, just tune out. Just don't listen to you. And, Jim, I hope you have a good Easter and everyone else. Thank you, Eugene. I appreciate that a lot. Booba, Scotts, go ahead. Join us.
Bo Scout. Oh, I'm on now. Bo Scout Rev from Colorado. I want everybody to call in these hosts because we know the Yids are called on by the Catholic Church to teach the Guineas to murder the white race. It's a fact. It's in textbooks at Eastern Kentucky University School of Criminal Justice. They're all on Kentucky University Press. Wealthy Yids in Cherry Creek, Denver, Colorado, also told the local Guineas, when you see white boys, we got something for them. Okay, let us handle this. We know the Catholic general, the Pope's got two horns on his head. Yeah, celebrate your Easter with Pope a Dope and his, where are you going to get your eggs this year? $20 a carton. Okay, go color them. Everybody will steal them. What do we care? And the bunny that delivers them. What a bunch of jerks. Yeah, that's the holiday. Wake up early, you jerks, because death is coming. We dish it out. We don't want to take it. We're fed up with all this crap. And these Jesus-y freaks, we hate their guts. They told us, what do you think of abortion? There's two of us are female. It's a female's body. I'm not going to go against that. Whatever they say. There. That's all I got to tell them. But they say, what about us white boys? F word to you, white boy. You're not in the womb. Only the rights of the unborn matter. That's what the Jesus freaks. We want them dead. It's a whole world of filth. Got it? We hate their guts. And I wasn't mad at Mr. Flamboyant Florida. He's great. They keep him on the air, and he keeps talking. They call back, call more. So he should promote us. I was trying to make the point. His relatives all served in the military. He didn't. But, you know, they failed. Look what the country looks like. So don't start bragging them up. We hate that great generation. Look what they left for us. Yeah, I didn't like where they sent me. But now I'm 100% U.S. Army Service-Connected Priority Group 1. And guess who they take it out on? The white boy. And those two, they don't have anything to upgrade from the Secretary of the Army. And the VA doesn't. The Veterans Administration, you think they'd care? No, they don't. So it's all going down the sewer against the white boy. Okay, thanks a lot. Get our name out everywhere. Bug Scout Rev War. We'll win the war.
Thank you. Everyone, spend as much time as you can with your family, your friends, and people you love and care about. We don't know how much time we have left. Use it wisely and have a wonderful Easter with your family. Love you one and all. Have a great time. Support RBN, and let's rejoin on Monday. See you then.